bit. I wanted to ask, it is a delicate subject, but I think it is important. I was a very junior military intelligence officer, lowly Army captain, but it was always foundational to us that our analyses were fully objective and no biases, particularly any political influence in assessments, whether for tactical operations or certainly strategic. Undersecretary, can you talk about why General Cruz was fired on August 22nd of 2025?
I am aware of why General Cruz.
You were in the job at that point, right? I think you had just started.
Yes, Congressman. I am aware of the circumstances surrounding that, but I don't think it'd be appropriate in an open hearing to discuss the details.
Well, the only reason I'm asking in the hearing, and I'm happy to follow up in I guess classified, even though it shouldn't be classified, but there's been no explanation provided. And I think given what then followed after the best public explanation we have heard was that there was concern about an assessment from the agency related to the level of destruction, or as the president said, obliteration of Iranian nuclear sites in June. Obviously a very delicate, complex assessment, but the timing there, I think for a lot of us, showed concern about sending messages about assessments. And then of course what's going on now bleeding into that. So maybe I'll just ask each of our uniform leaders to just reaffirm on the record, please, your commitment to ensuring that your analyses are objective, apolitical, and that you're giving your best military advice when it comes to these matters, particularly as we're engaged in combat, General Rudd.
Congressman, that's exactly what we're doing.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely, and it's written in our tradecraft, and it's followed by our people. Absolutely.
Absolutely, Congressman.
Thank you, and again, I'm asking, I've heard a multitude of concerns from folks in the force about this and would encourage that, I'm sure you're handling this at some level internally in your formations, but it's just foundational to our safety and to the trust. And I would welcome further clarification. We in Congress have been given none, including classified briefings, and I think that should be a concern that's not partisan, but that is objective. So thanks, and happy to follow up, and I'll yield back.
Thank you. Mr. Van Orden, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I do not have any questions for an open session. I yield.
Thank you, Mr. Tran. You're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Ranking Member, for today's hearing. Thank you for all the witnesses for being here. And General Rudd, it was great speaking to you last Thursday. I would like to again begin my testimony by acknowledging the service members who have been killed in Iran and the hundreds more who have been injured as a result of this war. My thoughts remain with their families and the military families missing their loved ones. When our men and women in uniform are sent into a conflict, it is the responsibility of our military leaders to protect them. And that cannot happen without the intelligence community. The fundamental purpose of our defense intelligence enterprise is to keep our people safe, either to give our service members the best possible picture about what they're up against or to neutralize threats that everyday Americans never had to know about. Most of this work is behind the scenes, but is an essential part of what our national security and national defense does. That is why it is so important that our national security officials have the best possible information, and why I introduced, along with my colleagues, Rep. Harrigan, Strickland, and Bacon, the Combating Chinese Communist Party Influence Act. This bill would require the intelligence community to produce a comprehensive report about the CCP's growing presence across the world and provide our intelligence community with a clear, evidence-based picture about the CCP's threat to American security, our alliances, and our economic interests. My first question to Lieutenant General Adams: how would a comprehensive interagency report on the growing threat of the CCP improve coordination among the defense intelligence enterprise and support special operations moving forward?
Congressman, thanks for the question, and I hope that the requirement for the report allows it to be written in a classified format, because there are many reports that are generated along this theme, if you will, that are put together in an unclassified format, and you really need to talk at a classified level to get to the true nature. I think, to respond specifically to your question, right now the integration is very tight. it would only tighten it, and it would allow us to refine our planning, refine our approach to countering China, and align efforts to magnify them and also to eliminate redundancies.
Great. And to address what you just brought up, there will be a classified annex to it. General Rudd, how might the National Security Agency benefit from a comprehensive report about the growing CCP threat?
Congressman, certainly anything that takes a holistic look at the pacing challenge that we thread is going to be beneficial to all the members of this team and the colleagues, and certainly we welcome it.
Thank you. Now, I appreciate many of my colleagues in bringing up AI today. I want to build on those questions. Why I think we can all agree that AI can be a powerful tool. I hope that we can also agree that guardrails are essential to protect sensitive intelligence information and the service members responsible for executing missions aided by AI. General Rudd, how does Cyber Command protect against AI attacks by our adversaries? Following up on that, how can the Defense Intelligence Enterprise improve cybersecurity specifically as it relates to AI?
Congressman, I appreciate the question. Clearly, it's something that you would expect us to be focused heavily on and ensuring that we're ahead of our adversary on their use of critical technologies such as AI. And the specifics and details probably more appropriate in a classified setting, but I can reassure you that the principles that I outlined in my opening statement, speed, scale, innovation, and integration, they apply absolutely to this mission space as well as everything that we're doing. So what I can tell you in this setting, we're moving very fast as we can to address it. We're going to look at the scale of it, both on offense, defense, from a red team, from a blue team, and figure out the most creative, innovative ways to tackle the problem. And of course, it's got to be integrated with the entire joint force in support of the warfighter.
Thank you, General. And Secretary Hansel, if an AI-generated intelligence assessment turns out to be wrong and leads to a bad decision that endangers a service member or a mission, is there a policy at the department that tells us who is accountable for that mistake?
Congressman, there's certainly accountability at every echelon for all of our policy decisions. And I would just say that as the capability it enhances and then we integrate it deeper and deeper into our systems, we are refining the policies because I certainly recognize a new set of issues will emerge that don't exist today. Namely, and my other has Undersecretary for Intelligence Security, a slew of security issues will emerge as we rapidly implement the technology. And so similar to my prior answer, I would say, yes, today, and we need to continually update it as the structure changes with the technology.
Thank you, Secretary. My time is up, and I yield back, Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Luttrell, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Apologies for my tardiness.
No
Mr.
problem.
Chairman, I'm going to hold off till the classified hearing.
Yeah, got it. Okay, I actually have one more quick question I want to ask real quick, and I would ask this of our active duty general, lieutenant general. I was curious. You know, in one of the key priorities in the national defense strategy is increased burden sharing with our allies and our partners. And I was just curious, is that taking place at the appropriate level? Are we sharing information with our partners and our allies? And equally important, I guess my question is, are our allies and partners sharing intel with us at an appropriate level? General Rudd, or whoever wants to start.
Chairman, I appreciate that question. I would caveat it with consider the fact that I'm not quite 30 days in the role yet. So the entirety of our relationships and partnerships still to be explored. But what I've seen to date, and especially as you look at the current efforts to support CENTCOM in this conflict that we're in, really unbelievable teamwork across a host of partners to enable us to do that. So I think the short answer is yes. I think the first piece of that, though, really is inextricably linked to the relationships. And NSA and Cybercom both have a long history of deep relationships with a number of allies and partners across the globe, and certainly we'll look to build on that as we execute the priority within the strategies to enable them to do more.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, on the 11th of February, I checked into DIA as the director at 8 a.m. And on 11 a.m., I was on a Talon call with the IDI director of Israel. And throughout the nearly little over 2 months' time I've been on the job, I have had constant, valuable, important sharing conversations with not just Israel, but our Five Eyes partners and beyond. And it's only been a couple months, and we already have plans to visit with additional directors of intelligence around the world. Each of our partners, you talked about burden sharing. Each of our partners has a variety of authorities and capabilities that some exceed ours and some are less than ours. And it's the combination and the interwoven mix of all those authorities and capabilities that make us more powerful. I would say this crisis has increased the amount of conversations I've had in the sharing of information, both from allies to me and from us to them, to ensure that we're successful on the battlefield. I have a 2-star general who works for me in my front office, who's the Deputy Director for Coalition Integration from Canada. And so I think that it's never been more powerful, particularly with the Five Eyes, but beyond that. So, yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am.
Yes, Chairman. Burden sharing is absolutely happening, and I will say, depending on the ally and the partner, the scope and the scale is different. But what I have seen, especially with the effort coming out of the National Defense Strategy and the guidance and the direction that's been provided to us, it's given us the ability to really engage. And we've seen tremendous results from that. I do have some vignettes and some statistics I can share in a closed forum. But I think the reciprocal approach that we have with sharing with our allies and partners, and them also providing with their capabilities, not just on the intelligence side, but even from a commercial side, has been absolutely impactful, especially with some of our most recent operations.
Thank you, ma'am.